In this video, we will talk about recognition difficulties in Alzheimer's disease, and I will show you some strategies that can be helpful in managing the symptom and our loved one. Well, first of all, what is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's disease is a neurodegenerative condition characterized by a progressive decline in cognitive and behavioral functions. And this clearly leads to the emergence of different symptoms related to memory, language, behavior, orientation in space and time, and indeed recognition. Alzheimer's disease is an age-related condition, but it doesn't only affect older people. Unfortunately, there is currently no cure, but it has been observed that early diagnosis and timely social and healthcare support and a good relational network around our loved one can somehow improve their quality of life. And a good relational network around our loved one, they can somehow improve what is the lifestyle, not just for the person affected, but also for those who take care of them. As I mentioned earlier, in this video, we talk about difficulties, about recognition disorders. But what does it mean? Recognition difficulties in Alzheimer's disease. Well, what happens is that a person diagnosed with dementia who has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's tends to, as the disease progresses, to no longer recognize objects. For example, if I show a person with Alzheimer's a pen, they probably won't be able to recall that specific object from their memory. Or there can be a sort of confusion, so the pen turns into something else and might be used as a fork. The same thing happens with people. Often family members may not be recognized. They can be mistaken for someone else, so a son might become a boyfriend. They can become the husband, they can become the dad, a daughter can become the mom, or in some cases they can even become strangers. This is clearly not easy for the family member to deal with. Another aspect is that a person with Alzheimer's may not recognize themselves. They might look in the mirror, for example, and not recognize their own reflection, or looking at a photo of themselves and not recognizing themselves in the picture. Clearly, what we need to keep in mind is the emotional experience that the other person is going through at that moment. Let's try to put ourselves in their shoes. Imagine the fear, the anxiety, the distress that our loved one might feel at that moment. And imagine how strong this can be to turn into something else, in some cases even in aggression, into aggressive behaviors. Well, what can we do? What strategies can we use? First of all, and this is something that should always guide us, in the way we interact with a person with Alzheimer's, we need to reassure them, make them feel safe, and calm them down. Let's try not to emphasize too much the mistake made, the failure to recognize someone. If, for example, he doesn't recognize someone, it doesn't make sense to say, "But look, Dad, it's Maria, it's your daughter." No, in this case, we need to use a different strategy. For example, we can say to him, "Look, Dad, don't worry, but in fact, as time goes by, we all change. It's hard to recognize each other." Why is that? Because this will make him feel not wrong. It will make him feel the same as us. And so he will probably be able to better manage all those emotional reactions that are related to not recognizing someone. It can happen that they don't recognize an object. As I mentioned earlier, they might not recognize a pen. It's pointless to insist on having them recognize it, because this could trigger the opposite effect, making them even more nervous. What we can do is use a different strategy. We can pass him the pen, saying, "Here's the pen for writing." Probably, if he is still able to do so, he can make a connection between the object and the word pen. Clearly, the situation might then is very different when I am not recognized by my loved one. So maybe I, as his daughter, am mistaken by my dad for his mother. It's not easy to face this situation, but we must always keep in mind that at that moment we are still a person to whom he is emotionally attached. We are still a person he feels he can have close to him and feels he can trust. So even in this case, it's clearly natural, but it's not effective to respond in that way. "But Dad, how can you not recognize me? It's me." But if he confuses us for his mom, let's try to stay with what's happening. Maybe by saying, "Yes, tell me, how can I help you? I'm here, don't worry, just stay calm. This is because..." Will it be able to calm him down, to make him feel welcomed? So what is it that we need to do in these cases? First of all, we need to try to calm our loved one down, and we also need to find a bit of calm for ourselves in that specific moment, because only in this way can we create that space of listening, which is absolutely necessary to be able to help the other person and to help ourselves